Welcome to the Good Guys podcast.
You know, good guys, I need to... Was that a left-handed handshake attempt?
You know,
He was trying to hold your hand. It
Very
was a
uncomfortable.
gesture.
let it happen.
I want to start this podcast, your podcast, by saying that I recorded a podcast in this exact studio, in that exact seat, with your friend of mine, Jeff Wittick, like 3 days ago.
How'd that go?
Well, I mean, I love the guy. It was great.
You know what I mean.
No, what are you saying?
Podcasts, you get an energy after, even if you love the people,
true.
you walk away.
Well, no, I think that Jeff Wittick is like one of those guys who's like got the thing.
Right, because sometimes like I'll do an episode of the pod and I want to jump off the Williamsburg because I'll just be like, that sucked.
The reason why I haven't done a podcast yet is I don't trust myself enough to like Joe Rogan, love him or hate him. What makes him good is more than him being an interesting person. He's an interested person. He's always interested in what you have to say. I think that's what makes a good host. That's why Howard Stern is like the ultimate interviewer. He's so interested. And I don't trust like my own... I never shut the fuck up, man. I mean it. I don't. So I feel like if I had a podcast, I'd be like, you know, tell me about how your day. And you'd get one word out and I'd be like, let me tell you about my day. Like I'm that jerk. But Jeff Wittick is not that. He's very good.
Yes.
He's a great conversationalist. So it was a wonderful podcast.
Did you talk about the Good Guys as much on his podcast as you're talking about Jeff on ours? I'm getting upset.
Yeah, it was like 2 hours. You probably spent an hour 45 talking about
It's Good Guys.
and you're
I'm Josh
just
Peck.
the first name, Josh Peck.
Yeah, Ben.
Celebrity
And Ben, we talked
stalker.
so much about
Beans.
you guys.
Yeah,
What
as you
a-
should.
I thought you were going to say that you don't like to do podcasts because you're worried you'll get canceled, like say the wrong thing. But you don't seem like a guy who worries about that.
I think I do worry about that, but I think I have, I'm pretty good at saying, like, what's it like when you have like a lag before it goes live to hit the mute
The
button?
10-second.
Yeah, like, so like, I think my brain has like, how old are you guys? Were the same age, right? Okay,
Ish.
so remember portable CD players?
Yeah.
When they had like the 10 seconds where they would have the next 10 seconds of the song queued up. So if it skipped, it wouldn't actually skip.
Right.
So I think my brain probably has like 3 to 5 seconds queued up of what I'm going to say next to edit before I actually verbalize.
And it'll just block out intrusive thoughts.
There it is. Now,
But the intrusive thoughts are what's the most fun. That's
I
where all the comedy comes from.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And then you get to cut it. These podcasts aren't live. That's what's so fun. You say what you want. If it was way too overboard.
let me tell you a story about this guy, real estate mogul.
Okay.
Runs for president. Yeah. yeah. No, he's doing this thing with his Access Hollywood guy.
Yeah.
And they're talking about very bathroom talk on a bus.
Sure.
He too thought it was edited out. Next thing you know,
Right.
grab him. Yeah. So I appreciate it, but I prefer to try to edit before it gets realized.
That's probably
It's good advice.
practice. We should
It
do
is.
more of that.
We should.
We're fucking up.
Yeah. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
wife has done, this weekend she met someone and she said, I know your granddaughter. Your granddaughter's Jessica, right? And the woman said, no, that's my daughter. My wife has also done like, I had no idea you were pregnant. The woman's like, I'm not.
I do that.
So my wife has like the negative, like she just skips. You know what I mean? She's got no random access memory there. She has no buffer.
I was at the auto show with my young
Bless her
son
heart.
Max because I'm all man, and I was around, and I run into my wife's
Your
best
wife's
friend.
husband.
My wife's husband, yeah. Dan, great guy. My wife's best friend's husband, and she had just told my wife that they were pregnant with their third baby. Beautiful blessing.
Mazel.
Baruch Hashem.
Be-
But it was very early. Like usually you tell your friend before your family in many cases because it's so new. So she had told her that. She told me that. There's the husband with his father, brother, and his son.
Oh, come on.
And he says to me, congrats. I know Paige is pregnant with your second because Paige was pregnant with our son Shy. And I go, and congrats to you, sir, on your upcoming child. And he goes, mm-mm. And I go, whoosh. And I'm with my friend and my son, and my friend goes, wait, did you just ruin this? And then the husband and his father and brother go, what? And
But
yeah,
He didn't know.
And he didn't tell you
The
not to tell the parents?
No. The husband knew, obviously, but he hadn't told anyone in his family yet.
Oh.
And his wife had told my wife, because it was like 2 months, it was very early.
Yeah.
And my wife shared it with me, her dumb husband. And Remind said, dumb, hey, dumb, close your big fat lips.
So it's kind of on Paige, not on.
It's all her fault.
By the way, that's just not fair to you. Don't give you something like that. That wasn't your secret to keep. Ugh.
Cool. Also, I know we're like 3 minutes into this, but you have said something mildly disparaging about your wife and her inability to keep her mouth shut. I said the same thing about my wife.
What do we do? We're back.
My wife
Hold
is
on, ready?
My wife is amazing.
How's Paige doing? She is such a star.
I'm so lucky.
You know what it is? When I'm around her, it's like she radiates just a positive energy.
I'm so lucky. Hey, Casey, that
Isn't
wife
that
of
obvious
yours,
about it?
Candace,
Yeah.
the Great. I call her Candace the Great.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Is she just as great, or has she superseded said greatness?
I think like if I had to say something about her that is not just completely true, but that really, that really confirms what everyone sees her as Candace the Great. You
Love
know, yeah, she's an extraordinary woman.
Do you want to say a nice thing about your wife, Turdy Lou?
In fairness, she hasn't said anything disparaging about us.
It's
She's
true.
the smart one out of the three of us.
It's true. A+ woman.
She is
A+, the
outstanding.
best.
And she's our boss. So
The best. The best.
she's got one of the biggest podcasts in the world. She's crushing it.
She does.
And that's where we see real
We-
value.
We met Casey at a random townhouse probably 8 years ago. or
What was-
something.
It wasn't
7 years
so random, but it was
It was
like.
for us. It was
But what was the agenda of? There was a specific. Come
So-
and let's talk about.
Red Nose Day was the
That's right,
charity
that's
that I
right.
believe he either owns or ran. And it was, hey, the owner of Red Nose Day would like to invite you to his townhouse for a dinner. We went, we watched a video on Red Nose Day. Casey Neistat was there, Ben Soffer, celebrity, Claudia Oshray. We were all there. And for us, it was very, very random. For Casey, it seemed to have been less random. We ate somebody's home-cooked meal. We never met them before. We never saw them again. And that was that.
I just want to. You're throwing that "we" around pretty generously. I did continue. It makes it sound so cryptic. It was like the Red Nose Day is a charity that raises funds for, I think, it's like underprivileged children or
I'm
something. It's a
out.
very good it's a very good cause, but it's primarily in the UK. They're trying to bring it to the States. They brought us like social media folks together to like,
Yeah.
and yeah, like we were supposed to come up with ideas at that dinner, some of which came to fruition, some of which didn't. The awkwardness is that it was like, definitely we didn't know each other, and I don't think we really understood what that dinner was about.
Yeah.
So you're totally fair to characterize it like that. But I did stay in touch with them, and I did a bunch to promote Red Nose Day, and I think we helped a lot of people.
Clarifying, we, as in me and my wife, did not stay in touch and help no one. We came for the free borscht.
Yeah.
Casey stayed in touch, raised great money for Red Nose Day.
You know, the other thing is that Akilah Hughes, do you know Akilah Hughes?
No.
Okay, she was at that dinner.
Okay.
And that's when she and I first met. And she and I have now had like a burgeoning, whatever it is, 10-year friendship.
Wow.
She and I are doing a thing together tomorrow.
Holy crap, we could have
So,
had that.
that night was like, I think it was pretty fruitful beyond the delicious dinner we had.
Whose fault is it that we don't have that fruitful 10-year friendship? I'll blame myself. I went into it negatively. You went into it positively. I probably had like that Eeyore cloud over my head, like, oh no, what am I doing here?
I have to donate my time.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great topic because you guys are New York guys.
Okay.
Through and through, all the way in. Now, for a couple
You too.
years, I'm from New York, but I live in LA now. I could never live in this place again. Now, Casey did a slight sojourn, they might say, in LA.
Okay.
Mm.
Gave it a try.
Give it
Had
a shot.
I'm talking, you want to talk about the digs where this guy lived? Nice.
Mm.
Nice. And you said LA is not for me. We were almost neighbors. I'll tell that story too. But I would love to hear how
Oh, it was
you.
very good that we weren't neighbors. I don't know if you ended up learning about that house.
I told you about what happened.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that house.
Clearly you did.
Well, okay. So quickly, Casey had this sick, unbelievable. Did you build the house in Venice?
No, it was like a year old when we found it. We did a lot of like, great house.
Sick.
Sick house. Yeah, the
And-
swimming pool in the kitchen.
Wow.
It was cool. We went over there once for a lovely Shabbat.
Good Shabbat.
Met our friend, well, your friend, now a friend of mine as well, Dylan Lowy. Shout out.
Amazing guy.
Greatest. And so I'm there, And there's this beautiful house right next door. My wife's like, I love this. We put in an offer. I'm like, I'm gonna have so many views just through osmosis being this close to this guy. Right?
Forget about the delicious Shabbat dinners.
Shabbat dinners, views. This is great. So basically what happens is we get the plans of the house and we find that they've totally, these grifter, scamsters have basically lied about the square footage. And it was like really 300 square feet less. And it wasn't a big house to begin with. It was like 2,300. So now it's like sub 2,000. It's a big hit for not a huge.
And there were a myriad other because they were effectively flipping it, but they tried to position it as like, we built this house from the ground up.
Yes.
And they made it look amazing.
Yes.
Like this wasn't like lipstick on a pig. They gave that pig a facelift. It was like a full makeover. It was gorgeous, that house.
Yes.
And we were friendly with the folks who bought it after you guys fortuitously had the whole thing fall apart on you. And yeah, I think that like there was a kind of a perpetual nonstop flow of issues.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
flooding, walls, watering. That's how I remember it. We left the neighborhood we only lived there for 11 months before we sold the house.
I am such a weirdo, but when I love something, I just want to share it. And especially when it comes to clothes, because my body is particular, it's specific. And when I find something that feels great, that fits me the right way, and I feel good in, I want you to have the same experience. And that's how I feel with Marine Layer. It's just really soft and it feels great. It's basics. There's elevated basics with some cool patterns, but most of all, it's just like everyday wearable stuff. And I'm going to get my brother-in-law one for the holidays. I'm going to get my father-in-law a couple of their t-shirts. They're a cool San Francisco-based brand. And for you guys, our listeners, you'll get a 15% off discount with our exclusive link. So just go to marinelayer.com/goodguys15. But whether you're into, vintage looking stuff or maybe something ski inspired with tons of bright colors or color blocked puffer vests, listen, babe, go for it. I'm not I don't ski often. I'm so happy in my t-shirt and my hoodie, but if that's you, their winter archive collection, it's sick. And the best part, they have free shipping and returns for an entire year. So if you do buy someone something, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry if it's the wrong size or color or anything like that. And I think we can all admit that great gifts can be hard to find, but look no further than Marine Layer. For a limited time, get 15% off at marinelayer.com/goodguys15. That's marinelayer.com/goodguys15 for 15% off your entire order. Saving your closet one shirt at a time. I love Hero Bread. The good guys love Hero Bread. They are regularly a sponsor of our podcast because it is such a natural partnership. I have always loved bread. I would pick it before I would pick a dessert. But the truth is that I always thought it was like empty calories, or I could be making a better choice with what I was eating. But gosh, it was such a guilty pleasure. Well, bread's a guilty pleasure no more with Hero Bread, right? Because it tastes delicious. I make it for my son almost every morning. He loves a toast with butter and jam, and he never questions whether it's Hero Bread or bread that he had from, years ago, because the truth is it tastes the same, except Hero Bread is ultra low net carbs, high fiber, and 0 grams of sugar. It's got lower calories than the top selling version with 5 to 10 grams of protein in every serving. I know you're like me and you ate bread over the years and you thought one day they're going to figure out a better way to do this. Hero Bread figured that out. By the way, they have croissants or brioche cider rolls for the holidays. They have buns, wraps. My wife loves to use the wraps when she's making some sort of delicious vegan offering. So get into it. Visit hero.co and use code GOODGUYS at checkout for 10% off your first purchase. That's hero.co with code GOODGUYS for 10% off your first order. Hero.co, use code GOODGUYS, 10% off your first order. Well, I just remember that we find this out. We're like, we'll still buy the house, but we'd like a reduction because it's not as big as we thought. They're like
a lawsuit and stuff.
They're like, no way. So we're like, great. So we pull out, which you're allowed to do. We use this wonderful Australian realtor, Casey.
Great guy.
Great guy. Shout out Shane. And I remember it's like December 23rd at this point, right? And I say to Shane, because now they have $75,000 of escrow money that we had given when we originally put the offer in, right? They're holding on to my, this is
Your coin.
hard fought,
No interest being paid.
brand deal money of mine. So we go, I say, Shane, when's money's coming back? He goes, not to worry, mate. Money will be there. Happy holidays. I'm like, I don't feel good about this. God bless Shane. He was just trying to allow us to have a nice Christmas. What he knew behind the scenes was they had said they're not getting their escrow back, which legally, there's no precedence. It cannot happen.
What, the withholding of the escrow?
Yeah, they're just going to keep our 75 grand because they're pissed that we figured out their grift. And then on December 26th, Shane's like, bad news, mate. And we had to get a lawyer, and eventually it got worked out. But it was
How much money did you spend trying to recoup the money?
$1,000.
Oh.
It wasn't. It was well worth it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It was like a one mean letter, and they were like, all right, fine.
You told me you put the guy's head in a fucking vice, man. Was that not true?
You gotta do what you gotta. Sometimes you gotta.
You gotta.
But you just couldn't. You couldn't do LA, huh?
No.
You were there for 1 year.
3.
Oh, so different house. You were in that house for 11 months, and then
we were there for like 2 years, 10 months, 2 years, 8 months, something like that. We moved 3 times.
Oh.
Yeah, just never found it.
Yeah.
And we never found it. And I get it. Like, I definitely see the attraction. I understand why people who love it there. My big sister lived there in Hermosa for like 15 years, something like that. And she moved away just a couple years ago. And she's, she misses it. And she's like, I think about moving back there all the time. I get the attraction. I think I really, like, in its most kind assessment, underestimated how much I love and need New York City. Like, I have a codependent relationship with New York City. I'm never leaving New York City. I'm going to die in New York City. I will never live anywhere. Like, this is it. I don't want anything else. There's nothing better. My wife and I eloped 3 weeks after we met each other and, got married and fell in love. And then we had to get it annulled. We realized we didn't like each other or something. We broke up. And then we spent like a couple years completely apart, dating other people, all that.
Wow, I didn't know.
Yeah. And in those 2 years, when we got back together several years later, we were like, we took that time apart because we thought that maybe there was something that we wanted that was more than what we could offer to one another. And we were dead wrong. Like, no, the grass is not greener. This is what we wanted. And I think New York City is a parallel to that. It was a good thing that we took the time to move out there. Otherwise, you're like fantasizing about something that's not real. And we did it, and it wasn't real. Just like I was a couple of years apart.
Was it the people? Like, what was?
I mean, you really want to get me started? Because
Yeah,
if I get going, I won't stop.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm being generous. Like, I fucking hated LA. But when I say, I understand why people like it, I'm not saying that to be disingenuous. Like,
So why do you think people like it? Let's start there.
well, okay, so like I look at my kid brother. My kid brother, who's a total superstar, retired U.S. Air Force jet pilot.
Wow.
Who's now like, when he's like, I'm thinking about leaving the military so I can be a stuntman. And I'm like, Dean, you don't get to do that. Like, you made it as a jet pilot. You don't get to then double down and be like, I get to be a stuntman. He's like fucking Thor's stuntman in the Marvel movies. Like, he's as big as they come.
Wow.
He's a superstar. And he's LA local and New York local. What that means, folks, is that he can get jobs in New York as a local, so I don't have to pay extra to like put him up. That's what that means, right?
Right, fly him.
Yeah. So when you do that, you're more attractive to LA productions and New York productions. But he's out in LA 80% of his time because he likes his friends out there. He likes his tennis year round. The quality of life, he says, is better. He has like tighter friend groups out there. He finds it to be more social. He likes his surfing. He likes his cycling. My other brother, my big brother Van, loves living in Topanga. He loves like the remoteness of it, the people that he meets, the weather, like all of that. My big sister loved the beach, like her friend group going out, like the sort of that vibe and that thing. They loved that. And I get it. Like, I completely get it. I have people like, I could never leave LA, and I totally get and understand. I just have like next to no value on any of those things. It's the same thing as when people say, I could never live in New York City. I would never push back.
Right.
It is fucking disgusting in New York City.
Chaos. But the best kind of chaos.
Chaos all the time. It's filthy.
Yeah.
It's physically filthy.
But I think it trains you to see through filth and find just what is fucking amazing about life. Like I took the subway here and it was fucking disgusting. But I don't know. I got here and it's great. Like, sure, it was like grimy and gross. And I actually saw a person.
Subways are like cleaner now than they've ever. No, not
No,
yours.
no,
What
they're disgusting. And there was actually probably a mid-70s man with a walker that I watched walk up to the in between the trains, switch carts with his walker.
Hell yeah.
Isn't that epic? Isn't that epic? So I don't know. I love the grime.
Me too. Like you can shit on the subways, but like Andrew Schultz wanted to make a promo video for he's headlining Madison Square Garden.
Sold out in 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'd say because of your video, which was
Appreciate
sick.
that.
Really
he's
well
like,
done.
he's like, what can we make? And I was like, I've got this video I've always wanted to make. I was like, we got to make it in the subway. And he was like, okay. And we like dropped everything and went and did this whole production that day in a New York City subway where like we were taking over train after train after. There's one shot where the doors open and he comes walking out, which means I had to be on the outside of the train car.
Wow.
You know how hard that is to time? We had to like.
And which car?
Well, that's what we were doing. Like I would get in that run, go one stop, and then I'd see him pulling up and I'd like run and wait outside. Then the door would open, get it, and I'd be like, that didn't work. And I'd run and jump back in the car and be like, wait, you get the next train. Same spot. And we just did that up and down the island like all day. And we're interrupting people. We're screaming. We have boom boxes to try to match audio. We're in everyone's way during rush hour. No one gives a shit.
No.
Like the cops showed up once so they could get a selfie with Andrew. Like no one cares. Moreover than no one cares. No one said, what are you guys doing? It's just New York. You're like, of course that's what you do. You're shooting some sort of music video in the subway. Have a nice day. Like, leave me alone. I'm reading my book. I'm listening to my podcast. And I think that is the thing that, like, I haven't lived everywhere in the world, but I've spent tremendous amount of time. I used to work in Paris in the 2000s. Like, my wife's South African. Her family has a place that we spend a lot of time in Cape Town. Amazing city. Like, everywhere. Rio, Chicago. Like, I've been all over the world for extended amounts of time. That thing, and I can come up with 50 more of those, I've only found it to the degree that it exists, like, in New York City. In such like a profound level.
So you moved from New York to LA. We're just going to talk about New York, LA the whole time.
I'm never
and you don't
going
miss
back.
it.
I'm never coming back.
You're really happy.
It's not habitable. Yeah, because it's insane. Because you get all the luxuries of a major, extremely major top 5 city with also a little bit of the pleasantries and the civility of the suburbs of like getting that, like
For sure, the
being able to
beaches,
park,
yeah.
being able to like walk around a grocery store that doesn't smell. Like you can't show me a Gristedes or a Food Emporium out here.
By the way,
doesn't have a slight rank.
You're aging yourself or dating yourself, both of those out of business.
Completely out of business.
because they
Gone.
did have extreme rank and for whatever reason. Also out of business entirely.
It's on 34.
No, they're out of business entirely. Then you're that's the last one on earth.
We'll swing by Dean and DeLuca on our way out there. It's been gone since 2009.
You're like saying,
in DeLuca.
oh, I used to love the Blockbuster on the corner.
Oh, and you don't go to Cantor's Deli either?
Have you been to Wegmans?
You guys, you
It is
just
like-
got the first Wegmans here,
We have
right?
a couple now. It's like the 4 seasons of grocery stores.
You see
Right,
what they're
but
doing
I'm-
with fish?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. You saw this? They're taking Otoro. They're getting the belly of the tuna and they're giving it to people in a Wegmans. You can go get great Otoro in Wegmans.
I know, but this is a big deal to you guys because you're living in a cesspool.
Where are you getting Otoro at your grocery store?
Oh boy, oh am I getting Toro. But this is a common occurrence in LA because I get it. But yeah, I just don't
How many times has your house or apartment or car been robbed?
well, I know you dealt with it.
Let's get into that.
Well, compared to New York,
Yeah, I don't even lock my house here. My house is unlocked.
you live
right
in a
now.
doorman building.
My point,
You have a security guard in the lobby.
my point exactly, Josh. Peck. We have created an environment here. No, New York is dangerous as
I love talking about Element because I use it every day of my life. The truth is that most of us aren't getting enough electrolytes. Most of us aren't hydrated. And we wonder why we feel fatigue, why we get that fog that hits us at 11 o'clock in the middle of the day and leaves at 4. And suddenly you're like, where did my day go? I swear to you, there was like a couple months stretch last year where I was like, am I depressed? And I was depressed, but Also, no, I'm kidding. I wasn't being properly hydrated. And then maybe you get weird headaches out of nowhere or muscle cramps. That all can be related to lack of electrolytes, lack of hydration. And that's where Element comes in. It's going to help with all that. It's a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, 60 milligrams magnesium. But here's the best part. It tastes great, but there's no sugar, no coloring, no crap, no gluten. It'll fit into your low carb diet, your paleo diet, keto, whatever it is. I intermittent fast, but it's only 10 calories, so I don't sweat drinking it in the morning. Now, right now, Element's offering my listeners a free sample pack with any purchase. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. It's a great way to try all 8 flavors or share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/goodguys. This deal is only available through my link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/goodguys. Try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, share it with a salty friend and they will give you your money back. No questions asked. You have nothing to lose. Okay, we're all dealing with hair thinning, men and women alike, and we're not talking about it. And that's even more lonely and even more crappy. But the truth is that hair thinning will happen to approximately 1 in 2 women. And if you're among them, you're not alone. Because millions of Americans, they experience thinning hair. It's not only common, but it's normal. But with Nutrafol, you're going to be able to get down to the root cause of what's going on, and you are going to get a way to treat it. Look, if you've ever wished you had visibly thicker hair, or maybe stress is causing your hair to thin, there's multiple root causes of hair thinning, and Nutrafol addresses key root causes because Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve visible thickness and strength. Now, you'll go to Nutrafol.com, you'll take their hair health wellness quiz, and you'll really get down to, forgive me, the root of it, right? You'll identify causes of your thinning hair, and Nutrafol will give you a personalized plan for better hair growth through their whole body health approach. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code GOODGUYS. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code GOODGUYS. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code GOODGUYS.
I did want to, in an honest way, and talk about it as much or as little as you want. Obviously, with all the geopolitics going on and whatnot, and I really have to give you a lot of credit, Casey. Like, you posted a video right away about being sort of proudly Jewish and your thoughts on the matter. And obviously, this is a very proudly Jewish podcast. But I find, like, in these moments, every year or two, and you said you hate making these videos, but you feel compelled to. I'm just so in awe of the way, like, I feel like you're able to frame it, you're able to educate people in a way that isn't overly intrusive, isn't overly preachy. A lot of times there's no cuts in the video. So I'd love to hear sort of more of your approach to that and how all that came to be.
Well, I think I learned a lot. I made a very bad video about like the 2016 presidential election, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump. And I think my feelings in that video were how a lot of people felt, especially at that time. Like, this was like right when the grab him by the pussy video came out, right after Trump had said some really awful things. And I feel differently about Trump now. I'm not saying, I'm certainly not endorsing him or anything like that, but I had fears about Trump. I think I was really caught up in sort of the hyper anti-Trumpism. He's still not my favorite. I've still never voted for a Republican presidential candidate. But I definitely felt different about Trump in 2020 than I did in 2016. In 2016, like, I really was on that train. I believed that hype that, like, he was the fucking Antichrist. And I made a very heavy-handed video about that. And I think ultimately, like, it was ineffective. And I think the reason why it was ineffective is, like, I don't know that it was true to, like, exactly how I felt. I think I started from a place with that video of, like, how can I be as forceful as possible? And it wasn't how I would talk to you if you came to me and you're like, what are you thinking about Clinton versus Trump?
Yeah.
And what's funny is I'm not like, I've known Hillary Clinton. I've met her a couple of times. In fact, I'm very proud to say once early in my career, she stood up on a podium and mispronounced my name. We made like a video for a nonprofit and she was like, I want to thank Casey Neistat for making a fucking lady. So I've met her before and like, you know, she, you know, there was some familiarity there, but even so, it wasn't an implicit endorsement of her. I was like, you know, at least she's smart. But I really went aggressive about how my feelings towards Trump. And I don't think it was effective. I think it felt dishonest. And I think like beyond how crazy the MAGA supporters were then and how much they went after me personally, that bothered me less than like me recognizing that there was some truth in the critique. You know, it's like YouTube comments only hurt when they tell you the truth.
Yeah, like we've put on a couple, Josh.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, fuck, that hurt. So I don't know. So I learned a lot from that. And I do feel like it was kind of there was something dishonest about it. There were edits in that video. And then, you know, when things like George Floyd happened or when things like, you know, the 2020 election happened. And again, I sort of felt that it was appropriate, necessary to speak up. I think that you have an obligation when you have an audience that to talk to them about not just fun things or like buy this new phone I'm endorsing, but like, here's how I feel right now, to take a more thoughtful approach to it. And yeah, like I try not to do a cut. I'd rather re-record the whole thing. I want you to know that I'm speaking to you. I'm not reading off the script or trying to edit this or optimize this for views or sensationalism or anything like that. And this in particular, the video about Jewishness that you're referring to in particular, you know, I recorded that in the immediate aftermath of October 7th. October 7th was a Saturday, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I recorded that video, I believe, on like a Wednesday, which was kind of the first day I was back in New York in my office. And certainly before things got as noisy as they are right now, is like messy as they are right now. There was still a lot of ambiguity then, and there was still a much greater sense of sympathy then towards the Israelis and the Jewish people in general. But I think what I said in that video then, which is that like, this is a all complicated issue. We're talking about 3,000 years of disputed land here. Like this is a wildly complicated, but what's not complicated is siloing the anti-Semitism and what that means here and what that means everywhere. And speaking up about that is the most important thing right now that we can do. And I feel that message and that feeling that I had then, 3 weeks ago now, is more relevant 3 weeks later because it was almost prophetic. Like I didn't think of it as prophetic. I wasn't like, this is going to get bad and all these fucking anti-Semites are going to crawl out of their graves. Like I had no idea that it was going to be like it is right now. And it's shocking.
Yeah.
But it does, when I look back at that, I'm glad I made it. And I'm glad I was just, you know, as truthful and as honest as I could in the words that I chose, because I do think the relevance of that has gotten, unfortunately, much greater than even when I recorded it.
What we all knew subconsciously as Jews as that was unfolding was there's only a matter of time before the narrative shifts. And so I think people were very quick, you, myself, and just proud Jews in general, wanted to make sure that everybody understood this was unprovoked and what you're going to see is going to happen from this. There's going to be a response and it's just going to turn anti-Semitic. And that's exactly what's going to happen because it happens every time. And somehow, some way, the conversation, and again, we don't have to talk about this the whole time, but the conversation goes away from there are 240 hostages and we need to get them home to here's the response to trying to get them home. And it's no longer about Jewish lives at all. It's no longer about Israelis. It's no longer about the people at this music festival that weren't only Jewish. It's no longer about that. It's only about the response while the hostages are still there. And I think we just knew it.
We were talking about this with Chris DiStefano, but why is it part of the Crazy People Handbook? There's only 3 things people talk about. The FBI's out to get me. The government's out to get me. those pesky Jews. Why is it? I'm just like,
you
pick
know,
a new group. Blame the Mormons. Like, can we find a new group?
It's a losing battle. I have like a very nihilistic take on anti-Semitism that, you know, I'm not proud of, but I think it's rooted in reality, and just the idea that, like, you know, idealism and ideals that I think our generation or generations just slightly younger than ours have been raised in these very coddled, very warm, very safe American lives, where like we do have like as much bullshit surrounded sort of the woke movement. I think what the woke and wokeism represented was just like, we've come so far as a society that like now we can focus on these things that if we were at a global war, if it was World War II, yeah, nobody'd be arguing about pronouns, but clearly like these words matter to some people.
Sure.
And we're at such a place in society that we can focus on these things.
Yep.
And I think that that represents just how safe and warm we got. And the reality is like, it takes an event like that, like a horrible terrorist attack against an ethnicity solely because of their ethnicity.
Yeah.
To reveal that like, nope. Idealism is warm and safe and lovely, but it is ideal. And reality, history, 6,000 years of recorded history since the Sumerians reveals that like, no, humans are fucking violent. History is violent. Violence is going nowhere. We are a warring species. Like, we don't have as much hair on our bodies as we did when we were fighting with sticks and stones, but we are still just fucking animals. And that's not going to change.
Could you imagine fighting with sticks and stones? Like, no, thanks. Yeah. Oh, Rick's got a boulder.
I know, you know, but it's like, if you had to choose between sticks or stones or like M1 Abram tanks.
Not great. Yeah, not a great trade.
I don't know that I want to go up against a tank.
But there's that great quote of good men sleep soundly in their beds because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf.
Yeah.
And it's sort of becoming, you weren't expecting a quote like that.
That was nice.
I keep that one.
And it was marinating.
Ready to go. I was rethinking it throughout Casey's thoughts. I'm like, I don't want to stumble here. Hey, Casey, I'd like to, I hate that I'm pivoting out of the Jewish portion of this podcast and going to money.
Where's this guy? These fucking guys.
But I'm just trying to know, like, your supremacy, your ability in which to like navigate. I respect you as a person, as a dad, and as a filmmaker, as an artist, but so much so as a businessman. And I feel like that's rare, where someone has like a great artistic talent and it's also married with an ability to navigate the business, take care of opportunities, and let's just cut right to it, become rich. So tell us about that.
I mean, God, I've never felt more poor since coming back to New York. My trajectory in New York is like, I moved here with like, I lived in an SRO on the Upper West Side with no bathroom and no kitchen. It was like a halfway house. It was undocumented immigrants, and then it was people who had just been let out of jail that were on parole. That's who lived in this. I remember like taking my baby, Owen, at the time to go to the bathroom down the hall, and going into the bathroom, it was just covered in blood.
Ooh.
And we had to like go to the next floor to go to the bath. Like, that's where I lived. And before I left New York to move to Los Angeles 4 years ago, you know, we lived in like a fancy high rise with a doorman. So it was like that journey was so palpable. Then we moved to LA and came back, and now it's just like the new norm. Like, I'm not that on welfare teenage dad anymore with the no bathroom, but like I'm a 42-year-old father of 3 who's like has financial security and all of this shit. So it's a very weird perspective. It's a weird place to be. It's like New York, there's this saying, and it goes, New York's a wonderful place to be when you're young and broke, or when you're old and rich, rather. And owning that I'm in the second part of that. Like, what I love about New York now is like my comfort level. Like, my kids' Hebrew school, their ballet class, their swim class, their day school, like their favorite grocery store, their favorite restaurant. It's all within a scooter ride of our apartment. And that's like wonderful. But I think New York has this this kind of leveling effect. like when you're in LA, you get into your, like, what do you drive? You have a Bentley now, right?
Yeah, Continental GT.
So you're in your Continental GT, and like I know how dark you keep your windows, so you don't have to see the homeless people banging out the
Limo
window for
tent.
money.
Limo tent.
But in New York, like you were just saying, like you took the subway down here. It's
Rare.
such an
Rare. I just want to be clear. Rare.
right. The helicopter couldn't fly today, but like the city has such like it's sort of just like a neutralizing effect. Like the dude I'm in line with behind at the grocery store to buy my M&Ms, like, you know, he's like a construction worker, and like the people that I like pass by to come here, like you're just surrounded by people. We're all in this together. So the idea of like the financial security I have now and how foreign it was to a 20-year-old me, I think New York has a way of kind of stripping the relevance of that away.
Yeah.
I go to bed every night in a wonderful apartment. I don't have to worry about my children's safety. I don't have to worry about what we're going to eat next. Like my wife and I we don't, but we can do like Grubhub like 7 nights a week, and we could probably afford that.
Sure.
You know, like those are wonderful luxuries. But like the day-to-day, I still work out of the same office that I worked in 20 years ago when I was like a 21-year-old kid. Like I'm in the same physical space.
Yeah.
Like I don't worry about rent now as much as I did back then, but like the lifestyle hasn't changed so much. These shoes were like, these sneakers are like, these are the American-made New Balance, so they're like 200 instead of 100. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That I can
American
afford.
made.
Yeah, but like
Yeah.
for the most part, like I think that's another reason why I like New York, because you're able to feel normal here. Like those socioeconomic divides, I felt were so bold in Los Angeles.
They are.
They're so well defined.
Okay.
Josh built a wall around his house.
I don't have room. I don't have the land for a wall. Casey, I feel like you're so. We do speak pipes where people call and ask for advice. Speak pipe. Let's do one.
What is speak pipe? I've never heard that term before.
We have our listeners go on
No, I know what it
speakpipe.com.
is. Oh, SpeakPipe is an app.
It's
that
an app
facilitates it for you.
that facilitates the phone
Yeah,
call.
that's all I was curious.
You have a better one?
No, it sounds usable. I didn't know if
pretty
that
good.
was like a term.
Podcast voicemail.
We could make our own.
Okay, here we go.
That's it.
From Kelly.
Josh, give us an update on your eye surgery.
I had eye surgery. It's not important. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Casey. You can't help
Eye
it.
surgery.
And I had a bit
LASIK.
of a procedure. No, for my under eye bags.
You had plastic surgery?
Okay.
We got to get this guy out of LA. My fucking God, he's gonna get
By
the
the way,
lip snack.
his under eyes
How
do look
good?
amazing.
They're amazing.
Josh, they
I'm a
look
kid
good.
again.
They looked good before too, though.
I don't know that I mean,
I could show you the befores.
my feeling about cosmetic surgery in general is that if it makes you feel, it's the same way I feel about makeup. I'm really attracted to girls that don't wear makeup. Pamela Anderson is hotter now. You know, she doesn't do makeup anymore. That's like her new thing. And she's hotter than she has ever been.
Yeah.
But if someone feels beautiful and they put on makeup, then I say more power to them. Plastic surgery, I'm not a big fan of. But if it makes you feel beautiful, then fucking God bless. This lift looks fantastic, my guy. You don't look a day over 28.
You're in film. I had directors of photography saying to me, it's getting hard to light you. And I was like, oh,
Do you have a before and after?
Yeah.
Was there like knives involved? Was it like a real thing?
It's getting hard to
Big-
light
It's
you.
not like, I don't know about knives, maybe like small, like very low level lasers were involved. But
It looks amazing.
it needed to be done. A lot of people have had it done. People I won't name, but it's very common in my business.
If I get plastic
could not be
surgery, I
happier.
would like to get a nose job to make my nose bigger.
You should.
Have you ever thought about a nose
Fucking
job? I don't
full
think you
Jimmy
need it.
Durante. No, God, are you crazy? My wife's been asking me to get a for a while.
A nose job?
No,
Oh, vasectomy. But no, you don't want. You're not shutting
fucking
down.
terrified. You know how hard it was to find a orthopedic. No, what's the teeth surgeon called?
Orthodontist?
No, the
Ortho,
surgeon.
periodontist?
To get my wisdom teeth out.
Facial surgeon.
I think it's a periodontist.
I had to get my
wisdom.
wisdom teeth out. I had to work hard to find someone who would do it without putting me under.
Oh, you're wild, bro. That's that Laird Hamilton shit.
No, I
what
just
are you
You
like-
trying
want to be under?
prove,
Why? You
babe?
heard your teeth cracking? It's terrible.
I did it totally awake. I'm not a glutton for pain. I'm just terrified of medicine in general.
I'm a new.
What am I looking at right here?
Oh, that's the wrong photo. That was the day. That was the day of the surgery. Yeah, bro. Don't even. Because it's really going to hurt me if I spent 10 grand for nothing. It's much better.
What do they do?
That's the thing. We don't know. Crazy, right?
They made him feel great.
He's saying, shut up. He's saying that because there's no scars.
Wait, don't squint.
Clip this.
If it makes you feel good.
Shut up. It's
Let me
so
see.
much better.
Let me see. I've seen, but it's been a while. Let me see.
I mean, Josh, you're just like a super handsome
Oh, yeah.
guy.
They're
Walk me
Look
through
at
it. What do
these.
you,
These bags don't exist anymore.
so like a puffiness here.
yes.
A
That's exactly it.
herniation. It's a
The
hernia.
puffiness, where you permanently look exhausted,
Right. Which I've had, by the way, like since I was 16.
which I think I have right now. Mine aren't great.
No, they're great. And you got,
No, they're puffy. You see.
no, you're perfect.
Can I get your facelift guy?
Why? How did we get here? Let's do
We
speak pipe.
accidentally listened to that speak pipe.
Hi, good guys. My name is Brooke. Question for you. My husband does this thing where
Brooke, pick up the
anything
pace.
that I have as an ailment or
Brooke.
emotionally,
Holy
if I say I'm
shit,
really
Brooke, I'm on
tired,
your
or
husband's
say I
side
don't feel
already.
good,
Do you
he's
think
gotta
that-
one-up me with more tiredness, more not feeling goodness, which is okay, but I'm pregnant, and
Oh shit.
when I
Fucking
say I'm
piece of
tired,
shit
I'm
husband.
exhausted,
Come back.
my whole body hurts, and he says mine too.
Oh,
It really
God.
makes me want to slam his head into a wall. Am I being too much of a NBW?
What is N?
Naggy bitch wife.
Or is this justified? So let me know.
As can I
Huh? Oh, did I get him? Oh my God, he could be in my hand.
squeeze it so hard?
No,
It was never going to be in your hand.
no, I was like so close though.
Brooke,
yeah.
as a father of 3, I like when your wife is pregnant, it is just you open the gates of empathy, fake empathy,
Yes.
and you don't close them until the child is like 7 years old. It's just what you have to do. It doesn't mean you're necessarily completely right, Brooke, or that he's completely wrong. But Brooke's husband, if I can speak to you, mano y mano, your life will be made easier if you just validate what she's going through. You know, like when I tried to explain to Candace how much harder the pregnancy was for me than whatever she had to go through. No, because I had to witness it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Phew, tough,
A lot.
tough. No, like all we have to do is we have to do one really fun thing. It's so fun. And then we hang out for 9 months and then we get a kid. That's the shit that a woman has to endure to bring a child into this world as a husband, as a supporter, as a partner. You just validate their feelings, right?
Validate them all the time.
It's
Right?
not easy.
No,
you
but
have
I'm
to shut
saying-
your ego down as a man.
Yeah,
Just shut the fuck up and just validate, especially like if she's pregnant, man.
but your life is so much easier when you validate pregnant, not pregnant. Wife doesn't feel good. I'm so sorry. How can I help you? Your life is so much better.
Yeah, because it's all, I mean, man
Right?
or
Yeah.
woman, husband or wife, all anybody wants is to feel heard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, especially like the vulnerability of a pregnant, like my wife was pregnant, she was so vulnerable. Just make her feel heard.
Me too. My ankles are swollen. Me too. All right, Tubby.
My wife, I remember at like 5 months, was like, I can't breathe. And I was like, oh, word? Basically, the baby was resting on her diaphragm, and which is a normal occurrence. And she spent the next 4 months not really taking a deep breath. So I was like, babe, whatever you need.
Yeah.
Like, this is what women are doing for the world.
I think like on a scale of 1 to jerk, I was like a 6 for my older daughter. And then like a 1 or a 2 for it took the first pregnancy, like to empathize with Brooks. It is husband. It is like tough. You know, it's tough to be kind of as selfless as possible.
Yes.
But like this, you've learned pretty quick that it's completely necessary and justified. They're making a baby. They
Yeah,
can't
it's the
breathe.
best.
There's a human in their body resting on their diaphragm.
It's
All we have to do is like go pick up lunch.
and we get to eat it too.
Yeah.
I like sweet greens.
Oh yeah,
Should we end with our what are you nuts moment of the week?
please. Or yeah,
Please.
explain.
I mean, I've got one. I'm not sure if it qualifies as nuts, but
Am I?
well, I mentioned I was in this studio here. We're on Canal Street in New York City's Chinatown. I was here the other day, and we were talking mostly about marathoning. So you just did the New York City Marathon, and I was with my buddy Hunter, who's like a superb athlete and ran the New York City Marathon as well. And we walked out of here, and there's a brand new KFC downstairs. Now, I didn't know that KFC even existed in New York City, in Manhattan. I don't think I've ever seen one. My office is a block from here. And we walked by it and we're like, phew, can't imagine living in New York and eating that crap. Yeah, no, we're not. And then today I was like, did you even get lunch yet, man? And he was like, nah, what are you thinking? And I was like, KFC. And he was like, dude, I could never eat that garbage. And it made me feel like shameful. Made me feel like bad.
Yeah.
Like a weak, small man. Is that a what are you nuts thing?
Can be.
Okay.
It can be.
Yeah, that's a good one of you nuts.
Yeah, I've been
That's pretty
thinking about
good.
it all
What are
day.
you nuts?
I didn't. I went and got a healthy lunch. Felt bad. Still feel bad about it.
Shouldn't go hit up, get some tenders and
Go.
some taters. And
They
Oh,
now
and then
have
that's like I'm picturing myself in like Canal Street KFC in the corner by myself, like dipping the chicken tender into the
Yeah.
gravy with the like you take the tender into the mashed potatoes with gravy.
take a statin
And like-
before and live your life.
Okay.
Do it. Raising Cane's is in the city now too.
Should have texted you guys.
Yeah, we're always down.
I'm down.
for a
Let's
good
do it.
time.
I'm down to eat something and then immediately regret it.
That's
I
the
think
only
Being
way
obese
I
is
eat.
about.
You don't even finish KFC before the regret sets in. That's the thing about KFC.
Yeah.
That should be their new slogan. The regret hits quick. Kentucky Fried Chicken.
My what are you nuts moment last week. I have a dog, King Charles Cavalier, really a son to me. Took him to the vet, and we're sitting there, and there are other dogs in the waiting room. It's a dog waiting room, and there's a dog. His name is Rufus, and the nurse comes out, and Rufus barks, and the owner of Rufus turns to the nurse and said, "Oh, he must be barking because the last time he was here, you stuck your finger in his ass." And she's like,
She's talking to you?
No, the dog. Reset. Did I not explain it properly?
Whose finger went in whose ass?
Nurse's finger went in Rufus's ass,
I
the
missed
dog.
the whole thing.
Okay. With my dog,
King Charles.
King Charles. Waiting room. Other dogs. Dog parents with the dogs. Nurse comes out, and the dog Rufus barks.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And Rufus's owner says to the nurse, "Oh, must be because the last time he was here, you stuck your finger
Got it.
in his ass."
Clear.
Right.
Very, very loud. That's the whole thing. What are you, nuts? Why are you screaming that about this poor nurse? She's just doing her job. I don't think that's why Rufus barked. I think Rufus barked because he's in a room with dogs and there's treats. He didn't see the nurse think, "Oh my God, PTSD. This woman expressed my glands and put her finger in my ass."
Right.
What are you, nuts?
The way you delivered that joke is he should have nudged his wife or his
Yeah.
husband or whatever and said, maybe he's barking because last time we were here, she shoved his finger in his. You don't
Yeah.
humiliate
Yeah.
someone.
Correct.
What is he,
You don't publicly
nuts?
humiliate the nurse at the
No.
vet.
Get
At
that
the
woman.
vet. It was nuts.
Get that woman some KFC.
Quickly, my what do you nuts? I just realized because right before I went through the Holland Tunnel, I went to a gas station. Hey, New Jersey, only having full service gas station. What are you nuts?
Hate it.
It used to be because of carjackers.
Is that why they did that?
Yeah, so people wouldn't get out of their cars. It was all safe. You keep it locked. Car gets gassed up. But now I gotta have extra interaction with Rick, who's here, and he's not having a great day. And I'm like, do I tip Rick? Of course I tip Rick. I tip the barista for nothing. I'm gonna have to tip Rick.
Right, Rick. At least Rick did something.
Rick wants a $5, but I'm like, but I didn't choose this. I would be pumping my own gas. What are you nuts?
What are you
New
nuts?
Jersey? That was about.
I mean, you didn't even have to say the gas thing. Just, I was in New Jersey. What are you nuts, New Jersey?
It's fair.
New Jersey's nuts.
My last question to you really quickly is you've flown all over the world in the sickest planes, cabins, first class. I just flew here, actually. This is not an endorsement, but it should be, on American Airlines flagship first class, flagship first. There's a lot of business out there.
That's their intercontinentals that they fly. Right.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
This guy knows
Wow.
planes. this was a nice experience.
Yeah.
It felt almost like a taste of the old school.
Are you here for work? What are you doing here? For this?
You're looking at it, babe.
So you paid out of pocket for that?
I was
What are you, nuts?
shout
He
out.
didn't.
Shout out, American. I just want to say thank you so much, Casey. Thank you for coming.
It was
to
a
the pod.
pleasure.
I
A
love you.
It was
pleasure.
great.
You're the best.
Rate, review, subscribe. 5 stars, anything less. What are you, nuts? Apple, Spotify, you'd know. Where else can you find podcasts? Do you listen to them anywhere other than Apple or Spotify? We never know.
Are you talking to me?
You don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
I'm not sure. You don't have anything to plug. You're a household name. You are the plug.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I love it.
Appreciate it.